Where to start? Hi, welcome back to my channel. So, as you can see, I'm not really put together today. What? Why are you spinning me? This video is off topic from my normal stuff on my channel, but it's a video, this is a part 2 of a video that I know a lot of you guys follow me for, and that video was like a year ago, and I haven't done any updates, and I feel really bad because you guys really took to that video. A portion of you guys did, and I feel really bad that I haven't updated you because I know you've wanted that. This is most likely going to be a shorter video. I have so much to tell, but they all can kind of be categorized differently, and so I don't want like an hour-long video, so I'm gonna have to break them up. This one is gonna kind of be just general, talking about birth control, in particular the Depo shot. Just saying it makes me cringe. I hate it so much. But we'll get to that. I'm just going to kind of talk about the effects that it had on me and why it ruined my life. And I've been off of it for maybe 3 years now, and it is still affecting me, or at least things I'm going through now, I believe, stem from the stupid birth control. So let's get into it. I'm not put together physically, visually. I'm also not put together mentally because I don't have any kind of notes to follow for this. I'm just gonna be talking, so I apologize right now that it's going to be a lot, or like all over the place. So basically, if you are coming from that other video, you know a little bit of the background, but for those of you who haven't come from that video, I'll link it up above right now, but I'll give you a little quick briefing. Due to the Depo shot, birth control, I have not had sex with my husband, and we've been together over 5 years. So we're 2 married virgins 5 years into our marriage. That's not normal, and that's not okay. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But that's backing you up to like what this video is coming from. So, back in 2016, in October 2016, I had my first shot of birth control. If you don't know what Depo is, the Depo-Provera shot. It's a shot you get in your arm or other places, and it lasts for 3 months. It has like 99.9% effectiveness or something like that, and the only reason it's not 100 is because people are slacking with taking it and whatever. So it's supposed to be like 100% effective, basically. And I'm no stranger to shots, as I am a diabetic, and I never liked the idea of pills, daily pills, because I cannot be trusted to take a pill at the same time every day, you know, and then the consequence of not possibly getting pregnant. Not saying that getting pregnant is necessarily a bad thing, but if you are not prepared for it, it is either way a life-changing thing. And I didn't want to have that life-changing possibility based off of just like 1 day of not taking my pill on time. You know, too much stress for me as a 19-year-old, which I was 19 at the time. So that was 3 months before my wedding, and I'll just say in general, at least a lot of what I have researched, the Depo shot does bad to a lot of people, just bad side effects. I didn't research beforehand. Like, it's unreal when I go back and think of the little things I could have done different, and my life would be very different right now. But we can't go there now, can we? So, I got that. It was like a week, 2 weeks before the wedding. People started noticing that I was acting a little different, a little uptight and crazy. And it was kind of just chalked up to be pre-wedding stress, which that probably had a part to play in it too. But that's when the effects started. Within the first 3 months. Within the first 3 months of ever having this shot. the effects started. Then it didn't take long after the wedding to start noticing more of a personality shift, if you will. And within that first year, I had become a monster, a completely different person. My husband was talking about, he tells me now things that he was thinking about was that I was a lesbian, possibly. And where did that come from? I got really, really low self-esteem, and it got even worse. And I would be on Instagram and you see all the pictures of beautiful influencers and stuff, and I would show him because that's what I wanted to look like. And so I would just show him like, oh, isn't she pretty, or you know. So he started to assume that I was a lesbian. Potentially. I'm not, by the way. Then he started wondering if I laugh as to not cry. He started wondering if I played him for our entire like relationship to get him to marry me quickly, to get me away from my parents. And then once we got married, the true colors came out and I was mean. Really mean. That was another thought. He brought up counseling. I was not for it. I didn't see anything wrong with our relationship except that he got way more annoying. That would be the irritability being like pretty much max. He just got really annoying in my opinion, and I was like, you are such a baby. I can't say anything to you without you like. So there was that. He got to a point of like, I don't think I can do this anymore. That happened so quickly, alongside of not being able to have sex. And that was both mentally, emotionally, and physically attributed to. The main one being physically. So I can't prove this, and I don't think anyone else can prove this, at least not based off of the internet, which obviously is full of true facts. I did come across one or two other people who had this connection, so I'm going to put the connection there and say that this caused it. We ended up finding out that I had something called vestibulitis. Again, I talk a little bit about that in my first video, but I will eventually put out a video specifically talking about that. It's a problem downstairs, and it's extremely painful. And if you want just like a little brief, the skin around it tears over nothing, over walking, running, playing tennis, and especially intercourse, which is why intercourse never happened, because it was way too painful. Felt like a bunch of knives, just so a bunch of micro, macro, whatever tears, some not so micro, but that happened. And I've read of other connections of people who took the Depo shot and got vestibulitis. Coincidence? I think not. So that was how it physically affected me. It physically affected me other ways too. I got extremely like lethargic and fatigued and just no energy. Put on weight like crazy. Not like crazy, but and like quickly enough that's kind of like, whoa, slow down. So I was suddenly always hungry, really hungry, always thinking about food. Like we just ate a big meal. I'm full. I am actually full. I look at pictures on Pinterest of really nice looking recipes and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to go make this right now and eat it. It's a little ridiculous how hungry I was 24/7. Another thing that it kind of made me feel, I don't know how to explain this. What I'm going to say is going to kind of sound a little dramatic, but I don't know how else to explain it. I hated being touched. Like it almost physically hurt. It didn't hurt. It was more like a nerves thing, and not like, I don't like you, don't touch me. It was more like, please don't touch me. I'm going to flip out over being touched, period. It felt like I wanted to just rip my skin off of my body rather than to get touched. That like physically irritated, I guess. That was miserable, and unfortunately it went away, which was great. I got much better with that. But unfortunately that's kind of coming back. But again, I'll get into that later. I think that's pretty much like the physical part of it. Emotionally, it affected me. Basically, I was angry all the time. Irritable like crazy. It did not take much to set me off, my friend. Off. I was always sad two. I was angry, sad, really, really insecure, which didn't help that I was actually also gaining weight and always hungry. That fed into the insecurity. But it was also like this like sense of impending doom or whatever it is. I heard someone else describe it as that, and it is exactly what it was. As much as Tony would annoy the crap out of me and make me mad, I also had this sense of every single day, many times in that day, I would start to cry. And I am not a crier. Let me just say that right now. I'm not a crier. Used to not be a crier. But I would cry thinking like he is going to die. And not like one day he's gonna die when we're old. And no, like I thought someday soon he was going to die. And I was convinced that I was like, I can't handle death. I don't handle death well. Who really does? But I was like, that's something that I cannot handle and I will completely lose myself over. And as a Christian, there's this thing that we say, like, God will show you that what you think you can't handle with him and you can handle it kind of thing. And so I was like, that's the last thing I want to happen. The biggest thing that would break me. So God's going to do it because he's going to be like, no, you don't need to depend on him. You have me. That was in my head almost 24/7. I couldn't enjoy the present because I was thinking about it's not going to be long before he dies. That was really, really hard. Moving on from that, another part of the emotional part was intimacy and like the mushy gushy stuff, romance, which I used to be big into. I hate it. Like, I honestly hated it. It was like, ugh, gross. I don't like being mushy. Even though sometimes I would pretend to be because I was trying to be. I wasn't. That was gone. Which isn't good when you're in the supposedly, honeymoon phase of your marriage, which I never had a honeymoon phase because of this stupid birth control. So this next thing, I don't know if it would be categorized emotional or mental, but I think maybe both. Sex drive, gone. Completely gone. And not just gone. Like some people, it's a lot of people, and especially as you get older when it's naturally going, it's kind of like, I don't really have the drive to, but if you want to, okay, I guess we can. This was way worse than that. This was, instead of just not wanting to do it, it was the last thing I wanted to do. The absolute last thing. I hated the idea of doing the dirty and intimacy and stuff like that. I hated it. It almost like physically like, ugh, no. Hated it. That's also really hard when you're within your first year of marriage. So I don't know, mental and emotional. So continuing with mental, it started getting, so the one, I was really insecure and stuff like that. Anxiety creeped up on me like crazy. I always have had little things that would freak me out, like for example, spiders. The spider there. Oh gross, I don't like it. Cockroaches, oh gross, I don't like it. That kind of thing, which is normal. I'd have a fear of heights and stuff like that. But my little fears like that skyrocketed to where the fear that I already had got to be crippling fears. And then I gained new fears. It's a lot of talking. So some minor depression kind of came into it early on. And stuff like that. So it almost seemed like my personality just completely changed. Stuff that I used to like, I stopped liking. Now I know some of these things happen to normal people, but like I'm talking on more of an extreme case and how quickly it happened. So let me tell you something about my Depo shot. This kind of stuff happens to people who take it for a few years. This can start to happen to them. So why did it happen to me 3 months into taking it? Well, when I left my OBGYN who was giving me the Depo shot, which I left because when I was in the process of dealing with vestibulitis and not knowing what it was yet, this doctor claimed it was all in my head and made me feel absolutely awful about myself. So we left. The next person we went to, it was time for my Depo shot. And so I told her, like, that's what I'm taking. I need to, that's, you know, it's time to give it to me again. She looked at it and she was like, you are taking a higher dose than you're supposed to be taking. Which I don't know how it works out, but that's what she said. At the time, I weighed like 125 pounds. I was on a dose set for like a 300 to 400 pound person. I was on like 3 to 4 times the dose I was supposed to be on. I was being overdosed on birth control. That's why so much, so severely happened so quickly. By the time we realized this, it had been too long to legally take action against them because I wanted to. My life had gone to crap. Our money had gone to crap. All because they were overdosing me majorly, in my opinion, on birth control. But here in South Carolina, 3 years after an incident happens medically, you can no longer do anything about it. It took about that long to fully figure out that that's what the problem was, and that is what caused so much in my life to happen. So I had my vestibulectomy, my first vestibulectomy to fix the vestibulitis, and there was still no progress made in the bedroom, if you know what I mean. And so I was just really tight, kind of like a straight up brick wall. You can't take it, I mean, tight. And it's very involuntary, so no matter what I did or tried on my own, it was pointless. So something that my newest doctor, the one who diagnosed me with vestibulitis, suggested Botox injections to paralyze the muscles so that they would stop freaking out and tightening. Why were they freaking out? All that I had been through, all of the pain that I had been through and the surgery and everything, it was just like, close for business, leave me alone. I've had enough pain. So I did it. I got Botox injections. I got put under. So when I was being examined to make sure that, like, yeah, Botox injections would be a good idea for you, my doctor saw, I don't know if it was, sorry, TMI, I don't know if it was an infection or just irritation or rash of some sort, but he noticed something not normal and asked if I was on birth control. I told him I was on the Depo shot, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna take you off of that because it's causing irritation, visible irritation apparently. And we were like, oh great, one more thing that we can change to go in the right direction. Fortunately at that time I had just gotten the shot, so I had to wait 3 months before I could stop it. So we scheduled, well, I guess it was a little bit before we did the Botox injection talk, because the way timing worked out, when I was going to be put under for the Botox injections, I was going to have him insert my IUD, which was going to be the new form of birth control, and that's something that lasted like 5 years. One and done and you're good. And I'm like, yes. The reason I didn't do that before is because I knew it had to be inserted, and it was pain happening down there, and I thought it was my fault that there was pain. So I was just like, I don't want to do that. I'll take a shot any day. But so since I was being put under, he gave me that IUD. Nothing changed. The good thing was nothing was getting worse, but nothing changed like hormonally. It didn't seem. We tried the Botox injections and that did nothing. Didn't help, because then we found that, well, okay, it helped enough that we were able to tell that I needed a second vestibulectomy. So that happened. So we were on the road mainly to fixing me physically, because like the emotional stuff, we're like, well, that'll calm down when the Depo shot, as it's getting out of your system and your body's returning back to normal. No, that is not what happened. Then we went down the trail of hormone treatments, because we found that it was my hormones that were all jacked up because of this birth control. My testosterone was basically 0, and that's like what helps with the sex drive. And my estrogen was really low, my progesterone was really low, everything was low. So we did a lot of work with that. I can get into that in another video as well if you want. But nothing worked. Some things got a little better, but nothing fixed me enough where it was supposed to. Yeah. After a while from my second surgery, and there was no success being made on our end, my doctor was talking about, you need to do physical therapy. And of course I was pushing that away like crazy in the beginning, but then it got to a point where it's like, something's got to give. So okay, fine, I'll do physical therapy to try to help with the tightness, which it was kind of like a mild form of vaginismus, which is just the involuntary shutting of those muscles. So I had to work on it. That was not fun. In fact, currently still working on it. So much better than I used to be. I'm doing it at home by myself now because that was really expensive, and I was making progress really quickly with it, which was great. Problem was my mental and emotional state still wasn't fixed yet. I still had no sex drive, and that's kind of important. Your drive does affect how you physically work. I'm gonna bring you to today. My anxiety problems have just been getting worse. Trying to deal with a lot of stuff by ourselves, and just no success. And I don't really have anybody in my life that I can talk to about it fully who can actually understand. You know, I have one girlfriend, and she can't help. She's there for me and she lets me talk, and it's amazing. If you're watching this, I love you so much. But to try to get any kind of help, I didn't have that. I don't have that. I was fighting this for a while, but last Monday, which today's Sunday, so about a week ago, I had my first therapy appointment. This is one that Tony came in with me on, and we kind of both just talked to her about what stuff was going on. And I've been officially diagnosed with depression. I'm just going to put a little side note in. As a Christian, depression is very confusing because it's kind of like this idea of, you're Christian, you shouldn't have mental health problems, you shouldn't be depressed, God should be, you know. That's not true. Christians can get depressed, but it's still hard because it just seems like it shouldn't be. But that's a whole other topic. If you want me to get into it another time, I can, but that's something that I was fighting with for a while. So I have depression and anxiety, but now I have someone that I'm going to be talking to about it. So hopefully that'll help. I have my second appointment tomorrow, and that's going to be my first appointment by myself. So I'm excited, but also not excited. I don't know how much to say without saying too much, but part of the problem is my hormones, I do think, are getting back to normal. I stopped birth control altogether maybe 1.5 to 2 years ago. Maybe 2 to 2.5 years ago. I had my IUD removed, and I just wanted birth control out of my system completely and try to let my body fix itself and get back to normal. And I knew it would take time, and we've been being patient with it, but it's now at the point where I can't do this anymore and something needs to change. So I am going to be getting my hormones retested to see if they are back to normal-ish, and if there's just other stuff going on, or if they are still crappy. It's been a nightmare, and as I said, I'm not a crier. Don't think that's true anymore. It's been really difficult, and keeping it all to myself has been really difficult. And part of my problem of confusion is I think my hormones are getting a little better, but not. I think there's too much damage from the past that I have to work through to get my hormones back correctly with the way they need to be within my marriage. I think all that we've been through has really taken a toll. Those of you who watched my other video, reading your comments can be awesome. Maybe a few of you talked about how you've been through this and you are still struggling with intimacy, and that intimacy with your husband is really hard. And when I was first reading that, I didn't fully get it for some reason, and I get it now. It is still discouraging though, hearing like, yeah, I've been through this and it's still hard. I can't handle that. I don't know what to do. It seems like it's normal for this type of situation, which is encouraging, but also not, because I'm hearing these people talk about that they're still struggling. My life's a mess right now. Thank you, Depo. I wish it didn't exist anymore, because this is just going to keep happening to people. So if you're watching this and you are a lady and you're looking for birth control, stay as far away from the Depo shot as possible. And in fact, this is super, super hard because there's almost no option for it. But at all costs, stay away from hormonal birth control, at least ones that are high in hormones. In my next video, I think I'm going to go into more depth about vestibulitis, so my part 3 of this. But let me know in the comments things that you want me to talk about more, or anything you have questions of, and I will make a video for it. There's so much that I don't know what to do first, and it's not going to be a year until my next update this time. I'm going to do it more often, and I will be updating with how therapy goes and when I find out about my hormones and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be keeping you along the journey way more frequently. For all of you who were commenting on my last video, I really appreciate your comments. Hearing that you're going through it, have gone through it, or you think you might be going through it. Some of them really help me, and others that I get to help you, I love that. I love being able to try to help. I also love being helped. So if there's any questions, feel more than free to ask them in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching this way over delayed video. I hope you found some of it useful. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a like. Really helps support my channel. Thank you again for watching, and have a wonderful day.